$26.6 million, and you're more excited about a $200,000 payout, and your name is Terry Rozier. Imagine you're Chauncey Billups, a finals MVP, a head coach, and you're working with the Italian mafia on poker games, helping them over the years win $7 million. Think about that. Imagine you're Terry Rozier, you decide to step out of the game 9 minutes into it, and then that's one of the ways, I just don't feel like playing. He just steps out and goes out and, is stepping out of the game to help a friend win the game. Rob, do you have the clip of Kash Patel announcing this?
Yes.
So here's how it started, the bombshell, and then we're going to go to Tim Downey here in a minute. Go ahead, Rob. Play this clip with Kash Patel.
Such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
Okay, so by the way, it's not every day the FBI director, Kash Patel, comes out and explains what's going on with the NBA. This is right after the NBA had a good opening day, and the timing of it is kind of interesting. You have an opening day, when, what's his name? Wemby has an incredible opening day, 40 points, 15 rebounds, 3 blocks. Good things are going on, and then next thing you know, boom, this is the news. Tim, great to have you on the podcast. Tim, can you hear us? I can't hear. I think you may be muted. There you go. Can you hear us?
We can hear him over there.
You're still...
No, I heard him over there.
No, that's Jake speaking.
Oh.
Tim, you may be still muted. Let's see. Because that phone has got the red's got to remove from it.
How about now?
Oh, we
Yes,
hear you
sir.
now.
There
we
he
go.
is.
So, Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing terrific. Good morning, guys.
Fantastic.
Good morning.
Fantastic. Appreciate you for making the time. So what do you think about what's going on here?
I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg. I think when you talk about arrests being made by the FBI, I think the guys that are arrested are going to sit down and, be scared to death with what they're facing, and they're going to start to cooperate, and they're going to tell the FBI everything they know, and this thing is going to spread like wildfire, and you're going to find out that this is a lot bigger than it is right now, and it's pretty big.
Tim, why do you think this is why 2 days before this announcement is made, or even 1 day before this announcement is made, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was on Pat McAfee? You think that was intentional?
Absolutely. I think he was trying to, get ahead of the fire a little bit and talk about that they need to get gambling under control. And I think that he's going to continue to try to figure out a way to put a lid on this. But it's going to be very difficult for him because I think this is widespread. I think it's going to be very damaging to the league. And, I just received a text message from one of the FBI agents that worked my case. And he basically said that they're not going to be able to cover this up like they cover up my case.
What do you mean by that? So what's the difference between this case and your case?
I think the David Stern was able to basically put a lid on it and paint me as one bad apple, the only guy involved, and nobody else did anything but me. And, we're going to move on from it. The FBI said that there was 6 or 7 other people that they wanted to indict, and this got shut down from the highest level. And then I find out, after I go to jail that, a guy by the name of Greg Andres, who was the head of the Eastern District of New York, took a job at a law firm and all of a sudden got all the outside legal counsel work for the NBA. So, it was a situation where David Stern really ran that whole investigation, and it got shut down by the, highest level people in regard to other people being involved.
Tim, so this is a bigger question for me. One of the stories was where is it Damon Jones, I think, was that gave and maybe I'm saying this incorrectly, but one of the players that was a teammate of LeBron gave word that he may not be playing the game to a guy on the outside. Do you think this is going to be tied to some NBA superstars as well? And Chauncey is a superstar. He's an NBA champion, finals MVP. He's absolutely a superstar, a head coach. but do you think some major superstar names could be tied or leaked to this case here?
Welcome back to the channel, We the People TV, where the streets talk and we listen. Need y'all to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Man, this is something big, and it's going to get even bigger. LeBron name getting mentioned in this is crazy. Now, if they sweep this under the rug, I'm through with the NBA. If they sweep this under the rug, I'm through with the NBA. I promise you. Now, we all know Terry Rozier. He was recently brought up on charges for this, and they let him off. Everybody's asking the big question. Why did the NBA not do more investigation into this before they let him back playing? Y'all let me know in the comment section.
Absolutely. I mean, when you talk about wire fraud, that's a law that is can be applied to many different things. And if you're just calling your buddy and telling them that somebody's not playing, even if it's a nonchalant comment, you're transferring that over state lines, that's wire fraud. And that's what I was charged with. So, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind some of these star players might have been, saying something to their buddies back home that they weren't playing, or one of the other guys weren't playing, or they weren't 100%. And bets were placed and money was made. I think that, sometimes people with power and money feel that the rules don't apply to them, and they're not going to get caught. And you get a little bit cocky like I did and think that you're going to get away with something like this, and you just don't. You eventually always get caught.
What is the approach that the mob takes? A lot of times I've had a lot of the folks in the mob, on, and I've talked to Michael Francis on how closely they work with the NBA and college. And remember back in the days with UNLV, and you would hear stories about some of the guys in Vegas that would go to UNLV, and LJ and Stacey Ogman and Jerry Tarkanian. Of course, a lot of these were allegations. But what is the mob's approach when it comes down to NBA players? Why is it that a lot of the mob is tied and they target NBA? And by the way, this may open up to the NFL. Stephen A. Smith said that, they may be coming after the NFL. They may be coming after WNBA.
There's other, I'm going to put it to you like this. Wherever they betting at, wherever you allowed to bet at, whatever team, sport, whatever you can bet on, you can guarantee that the mob got their hands involved in it. The mob got their hands involved in it. And that goes back to Carcino. Shout out to Carcino for life when he brought up the magnet ball in the NBA. Carcino been calling that out, saying it's a magnet ball. How y'all think they control this? NBA and the mob, they all in it together. They all in it together.
What is the mob's approach when it comes down to working with the NBA?
Yeah, it's not just the NBA that it is. This is going to be widespread into other, professional sporting teams also. And, it's just a situation where, you're hanging out with the wrong people different times, and people are connected to the mob, and you get comfortable with somebody, you think they're your friend, and the next thing you know, they have something on you, or you're in an enormous amount of debt to them for some reason, and they have their claws into you, and they're going to put pressure on you to do things for them in regard to, information, so that they can continue to make, millions and millions of dollars. So
they get to using them, and you got to do what they say. You owe them money. And that's how a lot of these guys continue to keep going all these years. Chauncey Billups probably been owing them money since he was with the Pistons. You just never know.
In my situation, I remember I thought I was just going to give the guy the picks for 3 months and be done with it. And the FBI agent said they would have never, released you. You were their golden goose. And if you would have stopped giving them the picks that they wanted, they would end up killing you. So, the mob is the mob, and it's still prevalent in the United States of America. I know people think that it's not, but, it's still, working very, very hard.
Adam.
Tim, how big is the Vegas effect here? Because if you scroll back X amount of years ago, there were no professional teams in Vegas. But the NBA Summer League is based in Vegas. We know that they have the Raiders now. I believe they have a WNBA team. I think LeBron is trying to bring an actual NBA team to Vegas. We know that the Mafia was located in Vegas. People think that the Mafia went away and they're just podcasters now. They're clearly out there. How big is the Vegas effect here, in your opinion?
They out there.
I think that, you used to always be told you couldn't go to Vegas, stay away from Vegas. It was nothing but trouble. I think it's just a matter of, there's a market out there, and they want to improve the bottom line. So, they move into Vegas. You mentioned the Summer League for the NBA out in Vegas. They put it out in Vegas because they wanted the attraction for, some of the bigger players to go out there and watch. And, it exploded out there because, people went to see it and they loved it and they loved going to Vegas. So it's all about the bottom dollar when it comes to, moving out to Vegas and expanding to different areas.
And you were
Hit that like button. Shut his
I don't know exactly. I remember it was the 2007, I believe, that you were alleged.
Yes,
convicted.
2007, I was found
Yeah.
guilty of gambling and wire fraud for passing inside information over state lines.
Okay, bingo. The inside information here. So whether it's in the stock market, whether it's in sports gambling, explain the difference maybe between what you were accused.
So you can just see that this been going on for years. So I believe they've been watching them, and they just taking it down little by little. I think it's about to be a big scandal, not just with the NBA, but with the betting industry worldwide, with all these different teams. Whatever you could bet on, just best believe the mob got their hands involved in.
Or guilty of versus what actual player. You were a referee. These are players, coaches. Explain the difference in your opinion.
I think the difference between me and, say, Rozier is the fact that he went out onto the floor, basically pulled himself off the floor because he didn't want to go over a certain amount of points, knowing that there was bets that were going to hit in regard to the amount of points that he was supposed to score. My situation was I didn't go out and actually fix games like that. That's fixing of a game, which is a much higher penalty than just passing along information about injuries and different things that, you learned about the game that I was going to officiate that night. So I think he actually went out and fixed the outcome of a bet. So,
Ain't that the same thing? Ain't that the same thing? Giving these guys a heads up. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Maybe I'm tweaking.
I think he's probably in the most trouble of the three.
And for the record, how much do NBA referees make a year?
They do very well. A referee that goes all the way up to the NBA Finals is going to probably make a little bit over $500,000 a year. A lower level guy is going to make somewhere around 200, 225 a year.
Okay, but this is good money. But this isn't NBA, max salary, even minimum vet money. That's 5, 10, 20, 50 million. Terry Rozier, I think he's made over $100 million in his career. He plays for my Miami Heat right now. Why in the hell would someone who's made over $100 million waste their time and their reputation on a $100,000 bet? Explain.
And that goes back to what he just said. You never know. Terry Rozier might owe the mob money. Whoever he might owe them some money. You can't get out. I need you to invite players. I need you to invite people, not just NBA players. He inviting entertainers, who are rappers, all of them coming out. Come on. I need you to invite them and we're going to scam them. This is crazy, man. This is crazy.
To me, the mind of a player. That's why I think there's something weird going on here. 160 million.
Great
Terry.
question. Great question. But what you have to realize is that, gambling addiction is just like drugs and alcohol. And, you get a high from that. I got a high from it. I enjoy doing it every single day in my life. So there's a possibility that he may be addicted to gambling and he just liked the high of doing that. So, people don't realize it, but gambling is just as powerful of an addiction as drugs and alcohol.
Have guys reached out to you with any news
That like button, y'all.
of any other names that are being targeted, or you haven't heard anything else?
I have not heard anything else, but like I said, this is the tip of the iceberg. When you talk about an investigation of this level, the FBI being involved, Billups is going to sit down with them, Rozier is going to sit down, Jones is going to sit down. They're going to be facing, 10, 15, 20 years in jail. They're going to literally scare the shit out of them, and they're going to cooperate because, the last thing you want to do is sit in a jail cell for the next 20 years of your life when you have a family at home. And it's going to be widespread. There are going to be a lot of other big names involved in this. I don't believe that the NBA is going to be able to cover something like this up.
By the way, Oh, go ahead, Vinny.
No, 'cause I was just gonna say, Tim. When it comes to I just thought about it. Even college games. I showed Pat a clip
NIL,
last week about a team that could have just kneeled the ball and won. He ran all the way back into his own end zone for a safety, and it messed up. And it messed up the spread. So this is, I mean, like you said, this is who knows how far this is going to go. But at the end of the day, Tim, when it comes to this type of gambling, you can never be 100% because some people won't be that careless when it comes to the wire fraud. It can be a cash thing. You can't stop cheating in sports. Period. You can't.
Right, and I think the next big scandal from here is going to be at the college level. When you talk about a lot of these young kids who aren't going to make it to that next level and make millions and millions of dollars, you're going to have some of these mob guys go up to them and say, hey, listen, the spread's 15.
Oh, yeah.
Just win by 11, 12, or 13. Here's 50 grand. Let's do that 3 or 4 times this year before you graduate so you don't leave here penniless. You have money for your family. So I think that you're going to find, in the near future, something like that happening at the college level.
Tim.
That's crazy. That is crazy that when you think about all this money the mob controls, just think about it. They say billions and billions of dollars is spent a year on sports betting.
Back to NBA, I want to understand the concept of tanking, whether it's in one game or in a season, because if this thing goes back to where I think it's going, and I'm going down like Vinny goes down the Epstein rabbit hole, I'm going down the hey, how you doing, whoever's in the back over there?
That's my girlfriend, Laura. Sorry.
How you doing? No worries. It's all good. So this thing, if you go back to 2023, Chauncey Billups, I believe he's not even the coach of Portland yet, but everybody's in the tanking Olympics for the greatest potential player that we've seen since LeBron, and this guy is Victor Wembanyama. We all know who this is. This guy just came out of the first game of the season, 7'4", put up 40 points, ridiculous player. How much of the tanking, they were trying to get rid of Damian Lillard. He was going to go to Milwaukee, Giannis. How much of this has to do with tanking, trying to get the greatest player of this generation, Wembanyama, losing games?
So the question is, how much of this is tanking, Tim?
Yep.
A lot of it's tanking. I mean, if you look at it over the years, the NBA hasn't been able to get rid of tanking. So it's something that they have to figure out. They have a lot of issues at hand between gambling and tanking and these players sitting out during, the end of the year. So I think the NBA is really in a lot of trouble with a lot of different things, and they need to work some things out, or this league's going to fall apart. It'd be like the 70s again, before Bird and Magic and Jordan became a part of the league.
It's funny because if you notice when they brought Michael back to do the show that he's doing, is that a part of, hey, we kind of need the attention back? We need somebody to excite the generation? Who knows? But Tim, appreciate you for taking the time.
Damn, shout out to Cino. They might have been listening to that nigga. Shout out to Cino. He called it out. The NBA is not exciting.
You've seen it in the movies. Shady figures in trench coats and fedoras. They corner an unsuspecting victim in a dark alley, right? And then what they say next is almost cliche. Pay up, Jimmy, or we're going to take out you at the knees, yeah? And the next time they meet Jimmy, they take him out at the knees. This has been the stuff of Hollywood legend for decades. Dirty debts and desperate gamblers and mobsters who will not take no for an answer, but often take something else. And now the story is coming true right across the country in a massive gambling and sports scheme that would leave those mob movies in the dust. The FBI has just arrested a whole spreadsheet of famous people, alleged bad guys, who were caught up in a national gambling scheme that ensnared the mob, the NBA, and a cast of unsuspecting high-stakes gamblers who had no idea they were being had. The sprawling national scam has 2 distinct parts to it, okay? First, there's the high-stakes poker scams, right out of Molly's game, right? Cheating big spenders who are not afraid to lay big bets. So the syndicate would set up illegal gambling rooms, and then they would use like famous athletes to lure in the rich players and make it look legit, right? And in a moment, I'm gonna name the names, okay? So pour a drink. So the hustlers then built a state-of-the-art X-ray machine that would spy from underneath that poker table, right? So you're seeing the cards face down on the picture at the top there, but look at the picture down below. It's the x-ray of what the cards are, right? The cards are face down, but look at the picture. You can see their poker hands, right? This was what was dealt to the players. Those pictures were then transmitted to someone in the back room who, you know, had computer screens going. So you can read for yourself. Flop equals 9 of spades. River equals 10 of clubs. Perfect 3 of diamonds. They knew everything.
That's crazy.
And if that's not bad enough, they rigged massive card shuffling machines. Take a look at this thing. This is what stacked the deck and predicted who got the best hand at poker. Shuffle, 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 but not really. We know exactly who's getting what. They had other stuff too, this high-tech racket. Poker chip trays with electronics inside that could read, and then dummy cell phones that could apparently read cards as well. So in a scheme right out of Ocean's 11, they also did something I'd never heard of before. They drew invisible marks on the backs of the cards that could only be seen by the con artist who was wearing special contact lenses.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
What the
Like, these
hell?
guys were pro. That's the high-tech part of this whole boondoggle. But the low-tech part, that was just filled in by old-school mob tactics involving, get this, 4 of the 5 major New York crime families, which in itself is
Girl, get your
bewildering
ass
because
on
you do
doing
not
all that
often
shit.
hear that the Bonanos and the Gambinos and the Lucchese's and the Genoveses all play in the sandbox together. Not well, anyway. Victims who lost big at those tables and then owed big to the swindlers. They faced the goons, the guys in the fedoras in the back alley, you know, who physically made the victims pay up, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that's the poker side of the gambit. Now for the sports side of the scam. The feds say that players and coaches faked injuries and then leaked the inside information on who was going to play and who wasn't going to play. And those involved in the racket would then make millions laying their bets. Let's start with the bold-faced names, okay? Then I'm going to tell you all the bad things that they allegedly did.
Before we get into all that, before we hear what she got to say, just imagine, these are 3 black men. We know it's bigger than them 3. We know it's bigger than them 3. Why are they plastering their face all over the news and all over the newspapers and social media? 3 black men. Just think about it. Terry Rozier, yeah, he's stupid for doing it because he made hundreds of millions of dollars. But it's like, Chauncey, I never would have thought he would have been doing that. But why are they plastering their face all over the news and social media when it's bigger than them? It's bigger than them. Y'all don't think white guys be betting and doing all that? They don't illegal sports bet. They don't do that. But we'll get back into what she got to say.
If you are into sports ball, you're going to recognize these names. Terry Rozier. He's a current guard with the Miami Heat, and he's in his 10th season. That guy is charged with faking injuries so that gamblers could bet on how low his nightly scoring tally was going to be. Because if he ain't playing, his score's low. Police said that more than $200,000 was bet and paid out after one of these schemes.
Dang.
And then there's Chauncey Billups. He's a Hall of Fame player, but now a suspended head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. The cops say that he was enlisted to sit down at those big stakes poker tables in New York City to make the games look, you know, legit. And then there was Damon Jones.
That shit.
Damon spent 12 years in the NBA before retiring back in '09, but he is accused of tipping off the gamblers to inside information while at the same time acting as an unofficial coach for the LA Lakers. Now, get that drink close to you, okay? Because I'm going to get more specific here. They say that he tipped off the mob that a superstar player was injured and wasn't going to play that night. And I know you want me to tell you who that player was. Who's the superstar, Ashley? Feds are not naming the superstar, but they say this. LeBron James was too hurt to play at that time. Between the lines. Also, incidentally, Damon Jones spent years playing with LeBron James when they were in Cleveland together. So damn. Like, holy, yikes. What does it all mean?
Damn, G. LeBron and got plastered over the news now. They gonna try to cover this up for him.
Where's this going to go? That's when I call in Mark Garagos, right? Renowned criminal defense attorney, co-host of the podcasts Reasonable Doubt and Two Angry Men. Garagos, did I lay that out according to the way you read the indictments? And if so, is this as massive as it seems to little old me?
Yes, you did. You did not go all Stephen A. Smith, who has a Trump conspiracy theory connected to this as well. But for those who don't know, this investigation, this FBI investigation, has been going on for years, and it started in a very unlikely way, and it actually started in connection with baseball, and it's made its way over to basketball. You have the one thing I would disagree with is I remember the invisible ink on card scam from years ago. The others I had not heard of. So I was the opposite of you, and I knew about the invisible ink, but did not know about the sophisticated card shuffling operation. But boy, if anything will cure you of gambling quick, this would be it.
I think so, and I'm with you. I think there were things in my Cracker Jack box that I could read with glasses, but I just hadn't heard that they'd advanced to contact lenses. That was spooky AF, if you ask me. I want to ask you something. That the feds, as you know, they don't go after cases unless they truly believe they're 99% rock solid convictions. So is this bad? Like, there's a lot of fans out there who are freaking out and hoping that these guys are going to beat the rap. Are they?
Man, the only fans that's freaking out is the LeBron fans. Them the only fans that's freaking out. Because do you know if this comes out that LeBron been doing this and he has something to do with it? Ah, man. LeBron got a squeaky clean plate. We ain't heard nothing bad about LeBron. Nothing bad. We done heard things on YouTube, but it never made, world news or national news.
Well, look, if you take a look statistically, as you just said, the feds generally win almost virtually every case. It's one of the reasons we talked for months, if not almost a year, about Diddy's case, because that was such a heavy lift and such an outlier. I mean, normally, if there's a federal case, 90-something% end in some kind of a plea. Of the remaining percentage that go to trial, it's rare that anybody ever hears a not guilty in a federal criminal defense case.
Like I said, it's bigger than Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, and Damon Jones. They will be giving up names. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let's get into this right here.
New details of federal investigations into illegal gambling and betting scandals send shockwaves through the NBA. The FBI arrested 34 people in connection to two separate cases, including Portland Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups, who appeared in court yesterday. So one of the cases involves allegations of rigged, high-stakes poker games. Prosecutors allege the operation involves four of New York's most notorious organized crime families and used celebrities to lure victims known as fish.
What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, were in on the scam.
I want to bring in Sal Piacente, president of Universal Game Protection Development. Also, I want to say that you're also known as casino consultant and cheating expert. You know a lot about people rigging poker games. Prosecutors say these poker games involve sophisticated technology. Let's start first things first, the glasses. How would someone use a pair of glasses to cheat?
Well, you look at a deck of cards like this, for example. You look at a deck like this, and honestly, you could look at this deck as close as you want. You will not see any markings on these cards whatsoever. However, when I put these glasses on, which you see many poker players wear, now it's different. If I look at this card right here, that's a 6, that's a 2, that's a 5, that's a 10 value, that's a 7, that's a 2. So with these glasses, I can actually see the marks on the cards. Now, we tried this before. It worked on some videos, but sometimes it didn't. If you look through that filter,
Yes.
you might be able to see the mark on that card.
Yep. Okay, I got you. There's so many other equipment things too. Okay, we got the glasses, a rigged shuffle machine, and scanning devices. Let's talk about that.
Okay, I don't have a rigged shuffle machine here.
Okay.
They go for 100,000. If you know a guy, which I do know a guy,
Sure. Yeah.
However, what the machine does, it's a deck mate 2. It's made by Light and Wonder, the biggest casino supplier. And the shuffle machine legitimately has a camera in it. And that camera films every card being dealt, and it knows what came out. And if there's a card missing, it knows exactly what card is missing. Also, at the end of the day, a casino employee could put a deck of cards into that machine, and that machine will put it back in order. Now, the cheaters found a way of putting that camera into the machine, and since it knows what's being dealt, they rigged the machine to be able to transmit to the players on the table who's going to win.
Wow. Okay, and you do this by a phone and also through an earpiece. Talk about that.
Correct. Well, first I'll show you this. Now, you can set this up. You look at this phone right here. It looks like a regular phone. If you put your SIM card in here, it's going to act like a regular phone. However, when I punch in a certain code, then it becomes a cheating phone. If I put this deck on the table, if I put the phone on the table, this deck is shuffled. We'll say 3 players because I have a small dealing space, but this phone will scan. It's telling me right now the third hand will win. So if I deal this hand out right now and you're sitting in seat 3, you know you're going to win.
Just the way the order is, the phone tells you. So, Sal, I'm wearing an earpiece in my ear right now so a director can talk to me and my producer. This earpiece is pretty big, so someone would notice I've got something in my ear. So you must be talking about a really tiny earpiece.
A nano earpiece, correct.
Nano earpiece. What does that look like?
Here, this is an inductive loop. This is one around your neck, under your clothing, and it transmits to this earpiece right here. Now, I'm going to put it right here in my hand so you could see it.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, that looks like it's the earpiece. It's not. The earpiece is much smaller. That is the actual earpiece right here.
Look at that. You know, I guess I would, from an outsider, I would say, okay, so no phones on the table, no earpieces, no sunglasses. So are we talking about private gambling operations? Because back in the day, Sal, I'm going to admit, I was...
That shit's so little. How do they even put that in their ear?
On the table. I guess
that is the actual earpiece right here.
Look at that. You know, I guess I would, from an outsider, I would say, okay, so no phones on the table, no earpieces, no sunglasses. So are we talking about private gambling operations? Because back in the day, Sal, I'm going to admit, I was a blackjack dealer for a summer. They made us change our shuffle. They had pit bosses watching over our back. If someone was making a lot of money, they would give me a new deck of cards. So there were things in place that would kind of mix things up, right? So are we talking about private gaming facilities?
Both. Matter of fact, that earpiece, if you go to Google and you look up France poker scam, they just caught 2 poker players in France using the micro earpiece. And it said it had to be taken out with a magnet. If you go to a casino and play, you're getting your best chance of getting a legitimate game. Can you still be cheated? Absolutely. Yeah. In poker, the only vested interest a casino has is the rake. As long as the casino gets the rake, they're happy. However, they don't want cheating because you never want the integrity in question. But when you get 2 players signaling to each other, you get 2 players switching cards, you get players marking cards, you could be cheated in the casino. However, in a casino, you have surveillance watching, you have regulators, you got procedures, you got policies.
Yes, you do.
You go into a private game, you're going into a lawless society. Anything.
Yeah, it's all free game there and tricks under the table, so to speak. Okay, before we go, like I was saying, I knew we had to have a special certain shuffle, okay? 3,
Right.
turn the top, turn the bottom, take the bottom card, put it on the top, this, that, and the other. If you didn't, you'd be in trouble. Show
Correct.
me your shuffle, though. You're making it look like a shuffle, but it
If you
seems
know
like
what-
you're not even shuffling.
It's not. This is a false shuffle.
Okay, show me that.
Let's suppose I wanted to, here, let's do a false shuffle for you.
Okay.
As you know, this is a strip. We'll do a riffle.
Yep.
We'll do a box, or sometimes you do that spin, correct?
Yep.
Do another riffle, and we'll do another strip.
It's coming
And
back
then
to me.
We got to do a clean cut, remember?
Yes.
Let's do it this way.
Or you have someone at the table cut it.
You could. Oh, there's two on the bottom. So these 4 aces is just a demonstration. I'll
Right.
keep them on top. Now,
Okay.
when I shuffle these cards, I'm going to make it look like this deck is being mixed, but it's not. And you can see, if you're watching the surveillance, you'll always see these top cards changing. So if you're zooming in on me, you're going to see the top cards always changing until I want to bring my cards out.
Wow.
What the hell?
Oh, my goodness.
Legitimate shuffle. That's
Oh,
called a false shuffle.
no.
Yes, it is.
That's been behind some big money scams in poker, and that's why they want the shuffle machine.
Nah, what did
Wow.
you do?
Until, so if
Hold on.
you're going to make the, you could. Oh, there's two on the bottom.
Hold on.
So these 4 aces is just a demonstration. I'll
Right.
keep them on top. Now,
Okay.
when I shuffle these cards, I'm going to make it look like this deck is being mixed, but it's not. And you can see, if you're watching the surveillance, you'll always see these top cards changing. So if you're zooming in on me, you're going to see the top cards always changing until I want to bring my cards out.
How
Wow.
the fuck did he just
Oh, my
do that,
goodness.
G?
Not a legitimate shuffle. That's called a false
man.
shuffle.
Yes, it is.
That's
Somebody
been
let me
behind
know
some
in the
big money
comments.
scams
What the
in poker,
fuck?
and that's why they want the shuffle machines. However, in on me, you're watching this is being keep them on. Oh, there's two on the bottom. So these 4 aces is just a demonstration. I'll
Right.
keep them on top. Now,
Okay.
when I shuffle these cards, I'm going to make it look like this deck is being mixed, but it's not. And you can see, if you're watching the surveillance, you'll always see these top cards changing. So if you're zooming in on me, you're going to see the top cards always changing until I want to bring my cards out.
How the fuck?
Oh, my
You-
goodness.
do
Not a
that
legitimate
shit?
shuffle. That's called a false shuffle.
Yes, it is.
That's been behind some big money scams in poker, and that's why they
I'm
want the
pissed
shuffle
off,
machines.
man.
However, the Chiefs found a way of rigging the shuffle machines.
Okay, one last question. So did someone then rat them out? Did someone on their team say, "Hey, I'm going to rat you out. I'm going to go," and let them in on the gig?
I got to be honest, I don't know any of the details of how that unfolded.
All right.
You know, I'm trying to
Well,
get his
we'll
truth
stay
and
tuned.
details. Give me 1 second, y'all. We got more to this shit, man. This is crazy.
Hey everyone, welcome to another sit down with Michael Francis. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. Well, you never know what's going to happen when you wake up in the morning, and today I am being bombarded, I would say, by all the news media because of this latest arrest and scandal with the NBA and gambling. And everybody's hitting me up, and I understand why. I'm kind of the go-to guy on this because I've been working with all the pro leagues and the NCAA about gambling and players getting involved in it for 30 years now. As a matter of fact, I was recruited out of prison when I was, about 6 months away from coming home, and started working with all the major leagues back then. And obviously that was followed up by the NCAA, and have done over 300 universities, both Division I and Division II, speaking to all the student athletes over the years. So why did they pick me? Because I had a big gambling operation on the street. I had 12 or 13 bookmakers working for me at that time. And so obviously I knew a lot of athletes get in trouble all the time, with respect to gambling. It happens. I don't like to throw a wide net over everybody, but listen, you got to understand with athletes, gambling is an extension of their competitiveness. They raise the stakes when they gamble. And this is what happens. Many of them get in trouble, whether they be in pros or in college, but it's been happening and it will continue to happen. Now, 4 of the 5 New York families were involved in this investigation. It just broke this morning. And, oddly enough, the Colombos, my former associates, my former family, they weren't involved. So either they were smart and didn't get themselves in trouble, or somehow they're missing the boat. I don't know what it is. But let's get into this a little bit. And let me make you understand this, people. It's always going to continue. I did a media deal this morning, and they said to me, Michael, we haven't heard much about organized crime, ever since, the Gotti days. We haven't heard much. You don't hear that much. Let me tell you something. They got smart. They're working undercover now. It's not the same as it was in my lifetime. No doubt about that. But they're not going away. And I've said this many times. They're not going away in my lifetime. They're very resourceful, and gambling will always be a major business of Cosa Nostra. That's just how it is. It's very attractive. It's very lucrative. Guys love to gamble, and they love to make money by gambling. So yes, they're going to continue. Are the sports leagues going to be targeted? Of course, because they know athletes are easy prey in many, many cases. I'm sorry, they used to come to me, my bookmakers, and tell me things, which I'll get into a little bit. Athletes are easy prey. They get themselves in trouble. They owe a debt, and they got to do whatever they got to do to get out of it. Sometimes we have to intimidate them. Sometimes they just play along with us, whatever. But it happens, and it's not going to stop happening. Why? Because today, athletes have more access to gambling than they did in my day. Back in my day, you had to go to a bookmaker. You had to go to Vegas, maybe Atlantic City. Today, no. Today, you can gamble anywhere. So what happens? When they gamble legally and they lose their money legally, what do then? They try to make it up somewhere. They turn to a bookmaker. They have relationships on the street that say, hey, I know how to get you out of this. Don't worry about it. And they do what Chauncey Billups does and a few of the other guys. And this is a widespread net. They do what Chauncey have relationships on the street that say, hey, I know how to get you out of where you can gamble anywhere. So what happens? When they gamble legally and they lose their money legally, what do then? They try to make it up somewhere. They turn to a bookmaker. They have relationships on the street that say, hey, I know how to get you out of this. Don't worry about it. And they do what Chauncey Billups does and a few of the other guys. And this is a widespread net that they seem to have pulled out over here. I'm going to read you an article so you know exactly what I'm talking about for those of you that that aren't aware of this yet today, but you will be because it's big news. And I'll go through it and then we can talk about it. I'll give you my comments. Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups, big name, great player, amazing. And Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, current player, and former NBA guard coach Damon Jones were among 34 individuals arrested Thursday in a federal FBI operation. These are big names, people. The arrests were part of an FBI-led investigation involving multiple agencies and the NYPD targeting La Cosa Nostra crime families. I don't know if we were the target at this point. Listen, it's so hard to get away with something today because especially when you have a lot of people involved, somebody's going to mess up. Somebody's going to become an informant. Somebody's going to start to work with, the investigators. You can't get away with this for too long. Now, some of you may say, well, Michael, they might have made millions of dollars already. True. And maybe if they're going to do a couple of years in jail, they'll figure, hey, it's worth it. I'm set up when I come home. There's a lot of different schools of thought on this, but you're never going to get away with it forever. Very, very difficult, especially when you got high-profile players, because honestly, they're not all that smart.
Somebody watching, and somebody gonna end up telling. Hit that like button, share this live, y'all.
They don't know the ways of the street. They're not all that smart. They're going to get themselves jammed up. Okay. All 3 face charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Interesting. We'll get into that. The investigation included 2 coordinated operations, Operation Zen Diagram and Operation Nothing But Net. It was both, it involved sports gambling and it involved card playing. And this is the oldest trick in the book, with cards. Oldest trick in the book. I mean, this goes back God knows how long, certainly during my day and beyond. The operation spanned 11 U.S. states. They focused on illegal gambling, money laundering schemes linked to organized crime. Remember this, people. Any bookmaker that can carry a bet or handle a big bet, they're going to be involved with organized crime. You know, in New York especially. Why? Because number one, we're not going to let them operate alone. They're going to have to operate with us. We're not going to let an illegal bookmaker operate on his own. He's going to have to answer to us. And if he doesn't, he's in trouble. We'll put him out of business or whatever. All right? And they want to work with us because remember, bookmakers give credit. They don't take your credit card. They don't take your money up front. They give credit. Well, if they have a collection problem, what are they going to do? Very simple. They come to us and we collect. We're pretty good at collecting. So bookmakers want to be involved with us. They'll give up a piece of the action just to have the protection from us. So if you're dealing with a bookmaker that can carry any kind of a bet, they're going to be involved with us in some way, shape, or form. I'm saying us. You know, I'm not a member anymore, but, you know, sometimes I just say things like that. So let's keep going.
Yeah, okay.
FBI Director Kash Patel stated the operation uncovered schemes where NBA players and coaches, not surprised, rigged gambling systems to benefit criminal networks. They're working with guys on the street. Listen to this, and this is what I just said. A confidential FBI source recorded over 3,000 calls and meetings with targets and participated in rigged poker games using cheating devices, an example, shuffling devices and x-ray tables. Again, oldest trick in the book. They're more sophisticated now. If you go back to the movie Casino, remember when De Niro caught the guy, they had the little, device, and they were signaling somebody at another table when they were playing blackjack at that time. Oldest trick in the book, really. And now, with the level of sophistication technologically that they have, forget it. They can do wonders, especially when people are playing along with them. 3,000 calls they got on tape. Billups and Jones were identified as face cards, and they're former pro athletes that used to lure victims referred to as fish into poker games. Who wouldn't want to play, poker with an NBA player? Who wouldn't? Hey, come on to the table. Let's have some fun together. They want to be around the player. It's good for them. They sit down, they play a little game of poker, and that guy, the NBA player, is luring them into a fixed game. Let me tell you something. Guys that are gamblers, they're easy prey also. You give them an opportunity where they can earn money with something that they love to do, gambling, it's in their blood, in their system, they love it, easy prey. They're fish. That's basically what they are, fish. The fish were unaware the face cards were called the NBA players, were part of the scheme. Rozier, big player, allegedly faked, listen to this, not uncommon at all. He faked an injury during a March 23rd, 2023 game. The Hornets and the Pelicans were playing, and they allowed co-defendant De Niro Laster to place insider bets. Remember this. It's never about winning or losing. It's about what? The point spread. I'll give you an example. I'm going to go back because I don't want to name. Look, innocent until proven guilty. These are allegations. We don't know. This is what's being alleged. We'll see. Let me give you an example. Let's go back, to players that aren't playing anymore. Lakers are playing, right? An inside bet. They got an inside deal with the referee. Let's say the referee, and don't think that this doesn't happen. It absolutely does. The referee wants to make some money. It's Christmas time. He needs a few extra bucks. God forbid one of his kids, need an operation. He needs some extra money. So what happens? It's never about winning or losing. It's about the spread. Lakers are favored to win by 10 points, right? He's got somebody he can trust, an uncle, a cousin, a brother, a neighbor, somebody very close to him. Listen, I want you to bet, X amount of dollars on the under. What do you mean? Kobe Bryant, all these guys, Shaq complaining. You sure you want to go the under? Just put it on the under for me. So now the referee, this. He can call a foul every time these guys move down the court, or he doesn't have to call the foul. He misses it, right? So what does he do? He gets Kobe, he gives him an extra foul or two, and he puts him on the bench for extra time. Limits the possibility of the game going to the over. If he does this a few times, he's going to make some money. He may not score in the first game, but over a period of time, he's going to make some money. It's very easy to manipulate an NBA game. He just did it. He told his friend, I'm going to go out on an injury. Bet the under. That's what he does. They make it. Very, very simple. I have experience with this, people. I'm not going to get into particulars now. It's a long time ago, but I have experience. Why do you think we want, to play? Why do you think I got involved with Norby Walters? Norby Walters, remember that? He was representing all the college athletes to go into the pros. I gave him 250 grand. Why? I wanted to get close to the players because I knew if I get one or two players working with me, I'm going to make a ton of money. That's why I got involved with Norby. That's why I gave him the money. No question. And Norby later on was threatening players when I went to prison. I never got back my 250 grand, never paid me back, well, because I went to jail after that. And I didn't have a chance to get close to the players back then. Bad circumstances for me. But why do you think I got involved with them? You get one of these players, forget it. You can make a ton of money. And that's what happened here. So don't be surprised. Rozier allegedly faked the injury, went through that. Defendants allegedly received non-public NBA injury and player participation information to place fraudulent prop bets. Okay. You're supposed to report when a player is injured. You got to report it. This is part of the game, so people know. What if you don't report it and people get that information? They know, hey, this player, again, Kobe Bryant, he's not at full steam today. This player's not at full steam. Bet the under, whatever. This is what's going to happen. You can bet so many different ways during a game. So when you have injury information that only you have, you can make a lot of money. That's why they tell you, you're not allowed to get this information out. It's got to be reported or forget it. Big advantage you can get with unreported injury information. Really help you win a bet, no question, or a series of bets. Proceeds from these bets were laundered, including through cryptocurrency conversions to evade detection. They didn't have that back in my day, but now listen, like I said, guys in that life are very resourceful. They will figure things out, no question. They will figure things out. So now they're using crypto, which to a large degree goes undetected. But what happened? You got an informant here. He's got 3,000 calls or text messages that he put together. You have an informant, and you always are going to have an informant. It's going to happen. Remember that. Links to prior NBA betting scandals. The indictment references former Toronto Raptors player Jonte Porter, previously banned for life and who pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. That's a gambling situation. Prosecutors allege Porter was threatened due to gambling debts and coerced to share insider information used for betting. Give you an example. Back in my day, NFL player, right? And this happened. I'm not going to mention the names. More than once, but this happened. Bookmaker working with me, he comes to me, hey, this player from the Jets, he's into me really heavy. He owes me 50 grand. Okay, what do you want to do? Should I bring him to you? How should I collect? 50 grand. Let him get into you for 250 grand, 300 grand. What are you doing? You're writing an entry on a piece of paper. It's not costing you a penny. He's a bad gambler. Let him get into you heavy and then bring him to me. Boom. Before you know it, he's into me $250,000, $300,000, right? I bring him to me. Sit down. He's into you entry on a piece of paper. It's not costing you a penny. 300 owes me 50 grand. Okay. What do you want to do? Should I bring him to you? How should I collect? 50 grand. Let him get into you for 250 grand, 300 grand. What are you doing? You're writing an entry on a piece of paper. It's not costing you a penny. He's a bad gambler. Let him get into you heavy and then bring him to me. Boom. Before you know it, he's into me $250,000, $300,000, right? I bring him to me. Sit down. Hey, how you doing? Good. You owe me a lot of money. Oh, you didn't know it was me? Sorry, yeah, we don't always put that out there, but it's me. You owe me a lot of money. How are you going to pay? You got to pay. You got to figure it out. I'll tell you what. You know what? I love your team. I like the way you play. I'm going to give you a break. You owe me $250,000, right? You don't have to pay me right away. You pay me 2% a week in cash. When do you get paid? Every Monday you be here with the cash. Don't miss. Don't miss. And I'll let you slide for a while. I don't care. That's fine with me. He wants to do anything to get out of the room. He leaves. What do we find out? We're tracking a guy. He goes to another bookmaker somewhere else, right? And he's trying to make up the loss by betting somewhere else. Well, we all know what's going on. So pretty soon, he can't even pay me the 2%. We call him back in the room. Hey, let me explain something to you, my friend. You don't get away with a gambling debt. You got to pay me. You got a rich uncle. You got a godfather. Who would it? Go rob a bank. I don't care what you do, but you're going to pay me. That's it. Oh, Michael, let me tell you that. For some reason, I got a soft spot with you. I don't know why. So here's what we're going to do. You're a good running back, right? Yeah. All right. First 3 times next game, you put the ball on the ground. What? You heard what I said. Put the ball on the ground. First 3 times. You're a wide receiver? Okay. Make sure that that ball doesn't go into your hands. That's it. You're a quarterback? First 3 times you get the ball, put it in the other team's hands. I'll worry about the rest. I'm getting an edge now. I know what to do. You're going to do this over a period of whatever amount of games I tell you, and that's how we're going to even up the score.
Just think about that. All the games that everybody's been looking at, like, damn, why did that just happen? You mean to tell me they lost and they was almost like people about to start looking back at these games and breaking them down? The NFL ain't excluded from this. The NFL is not excluded from this.
And if you don't do it, you don't want to know what happens at that point. I think you understand where I'm coming from. That's it. Very powerful. That's how you get these players to work with you. NBA player, the same thing. I don't care what you do. Foul yourself out of the game. Do whatever. Referee, same thing. You make sure it goes my way. Are all of these type of people involved in gambling? Of course. Gambling is huge. Why do you think the NBA and all of these organizations now are being involved with gambling? Money. Period. Huge. The more access you give players, the more trouble they're going to get in. Bottom line, that's it. And I've been saying this for 30 years when they were trying to legalize gambling. I said, listen, the more access you give, the more trouble you're going to have. Period. The more trouble players are going to get into because you're playing into their weakness. Gambling is an extension of their competitiveness. And guys that make big money lose big money. If you're making millions of dollars a year, it doesn't feel good to lose $100. That's nothing. You spend $100, you tip the waiter for $100. You're going to bet big because you want to win big, and as a result, you're going to lose big. That's the bottom line. So the leagues, honestly, they're not helping themselves. I can tell you that. All right, let me continue with this. Financial impact. Defendants allegedly placed hundreds of thousands of dollars on fraudulent bets. The estimated intended losses totaled in the millions, no doubt about it. Bets were placed using straw bettors, guys that they just brought in to bet, to bypass betting limits and maximize profits. In other words, you can't bet so much at one time, so you get a number of different guys and you have them each come in and bet. But again, what are you doing? You're making the scheme known to more people. Oh, I can't bet 100,000. That's the limit. So I'll have to get 3 or 4 or 5 guys come in and let them all bet for me. Now they're all in on the scam. They're all in on the scheme. The more you widen that net, the more possibility you've got of somebody cracking or getting in trouble or being an informant or whatever. Do you see how it happens? I always tell people, you want to do a crime, do it alone. And if you can't do it alone, don't do it at all. Because chances are whoever you're working with is going to jam themselves up and they're going to get in trouble and they're going to implicate you. No doubt about it. Okay. The NBA placed Billups and Rozier on immediate leave of absence pending further review. The league pledged full cooperation with federal authorities, emphasizing that, quote, the integrity of our game remains our top priority. Okay. And that's true. Because let me tell you something. If the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball or NHL ever become what wrestling was, pro wrestling was during my day, forget it. The sports will lose all their luster because a major part of their business, the reason people watch is because they can gamble on the games. Let me tell you, at one point in time, you had a favorite team, right? You would bet on that team. But now you can bet on every team on a Sunday, on a Thursday, on a Monday in the NFL. You can bet on every Major League Baseball game. It doesn't matter who your favorite team is. You're betting on every because you're a gambler. You want to make money. So, of course, they bring more interest into the sport, more interest by allowing gambling on the sports. They just don't want the players to get jammed up, right? Of course. because then it makes it what professional wrestling was, which was a big scam. It was only entertaining. It wasn't real many, many years ago. You don't want that. You don't want that. When players get involved, you got trouble. But when everybody else get involved and you're saying the players can't get involved, well, you're opening yourself up for a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what the result of it is.
Yep.
And it's
I'm gonna cut that short. Y'all want to go watch the rest of that? Y'all go over there, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Michael Franzini's, or was it Franzizi? But yeah, y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think about this. And this is for fair use, YouTube. Fair use. Commentary purposes only. This is for fair use. Don't know. It might be more to come. So all we can do is stay tuned. I'll keep you guys posted. Anything else come to the forefront. Shout out to Carcino. Shout out to Kwame Brown, Bus Life. Hit that notification bell. New to the channel. We the People TV. Gone.